cheap and she could afford better. But what was the point of her dressing up when he was away and she had no job to go to, no friends to see? The rest of her outfit also reflected the apathy that was her default setting of late. A knee-length denim skirt, more than 5 years old, that gaped at the waist because it was too big for her now, paired with a navy t-shirt faded from being washed too often. Her face was devoid of what little makeup she usually wore, and her fine blonde hair was scraped off her face into a messy ponytail because she hadn't bothered to wash it since Saturday, the day Mack had left for his latest golfing trip. The tiles felt chilly beneath the sweat-slicked soles of her feet, but she welcomed the sensation. It was a hot day, and the shopping had taken longer than she planned, but at least it was done now. In one of the carrier bags was a bottle of South African Chenin Blanc she planned to open that evening while catching up on the soaps. With Mack away, she could watch them in peace without his sarcastic commentary running in the background. So what if Albert Square was nothing like real life? As she often retaliated, this new life of theirs wasn't that far removed from fiction either. She wouldn't tell him about her reaction to finding the alarm switched off, she decided, in case he thought she was just being silly again. He accepted her neuroses regarding how secure the house was, but only up to a point. Today's incident would most likely provoke more eye rolls and sighs than sympathy. A glance at the clock on the range cooker told her it was 1:13 p.m. If Rosie hadn't eaten yet, and the tidy state of the kitchen suggested she hadn't, they could have lunch together on the terrace. It was one of those rare, cloudless days in late May, when it was so balmy it felt more like high summer. Having a break might take Rosie's mind off her next exam for an hour or so, and draw her out of the shell she'd retreated into as her GCSE revision consumed her. Glancing over, Lesley saw the back door was shut, but she reckoned her daughter was probably still out in the garden. When she'd left to go shopping just before 10 a.m, Rosie was already sprawled on a blanket on the lawn, reading through a textbook. Her next GCSE exam was 2 days away on Thursday, and it was science, the subject she struggled most with and had done least preparation for. The school she went to permitted pupils to revise at home on certain days around their exams, but Lesley had doubts about the effectiveness of the policy, as Rosie could be easily distracted. But it was the kind of progressive education the private all-girls school had built its reputation on, and why it ranked as one of the best in the south of England. The school, like their house, was in the village of Haxton in Buckinghamshire, a county to the west of London known for being home to the Prime Minister's country residence, Chequers, Pinewood Film Studios, a moribund furniture industry, and a belt of homes owned by once famous television stars of the 70s and 80s. With a population of 8,318, Haxton was one of the smaller villages in the area, but what it lacked in size, it made up for in affluence. Homes there rarely sold for less than £1 million, and every year it featured in the Telegraph's top 10 most desirable places to live in Britain. It was worlds away from Mansell, the town 5 miles down the road where the Kinnocks had lived, before their £15 million win on the EuroMillions lottery had upgraded their existence to include gated communities and schools that cost £4,000 a term. Lesley headed over to the back door, but gave the solid oak island counter in the middle of the room a wide berth as she went past, as though it had more right to be there than she did. It was too big, too imposing. And in the 14 months they'd lived at Angel's Reach, the name given to their house long before they bought it, and which she would change in a heartbeat if only Mack would let her, had come to represent everything she loathed about their new wealth. It was all about show. The presence of the island counter also embarrassed her, reminding her as it did of the first time they viewed the house, and she'd asked the estate agent to explain what it was for, because she'd never set foot in a kitchen that had one before. The young woman, all glossy hair and glossed lips, had looked at Lesley more with pity than surprise. "You want to know what the point of it is?" More than a year on, Lesley's cheeks still grew hot at the memory. "There are all these worktops already."